Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Micks Mowers, and in today's episode we're going to take a little look at a Hayter Harrier 41. Just come in for service. A gentleman's just messaged me and he dropped it off within 10 minutes, which is cool. Apparently it all runs, and also he wants me to look at the drive. The drive has stopped working, which is a bit of an issue. Hopefully it's not the gearbox gone on it. Hopefully it's just the belts need looking at. That's what I'm hoping, but we shall see. So it's going to be a straightforward service, a clean down. All I've done to it literally is just fire it up, make sure it does start, which it does, and just give it a quick hit with the old jet wash, just to get rid of some of the crud, because it was absolutely covered in grass, litter and all that sort of good stuff. Incidentally, if this is your first time you're watching Micks Mowers, don't forget to hit the old subscribe button and whack the old bell, set your notifications to all, and that will tell you that either I've released a video or am in fact on my weekly live stream on a Saturday night between the hours of 6 and 10. So you're welcome to come and join me on that. So without further ado, let's get down and dirty and let's check out this Hayter Harrier 41. Right, here she is, little Hayter Harrier 41. It's not in too bad condition. I don't know what the date is. The date is 2003, so she's knocking on a little tiny bit. I would say it's possibly used commercially to a degree. But we shall see. Well, it's not long had a service. The filter is not what I call abysmal. I've seen a lot worse, but it doesn't want a new filter. So that one's coming off. Let's have a little gander at the plug, which is around this side. So here's the plug. It's looking like a Briggs plug, I'd say. Wasn't done excessively tight. Yeah, it's got a Briggs plug in there. It's not been serviced for a while, I'd say, or it's running a bit lean. We shall see. So once a new plug, new air filter, not excessive. I should check the head bolts, make sure they're down, and what have you. Next thing I want to do is take the oil out of the engine. It has been run up because I had run it up about 2 or 3 minutes ago, just to make sure it does start, because lots of things come in for service that actually don't run at all, and that's not a service, that's a repair. So let me just grab a rag and we'll check the oil out. Okay, let's have a look at the old oil, see what we're looking at. Next to no oil at all in this engine. In fact, it's running with nothing in it, which is not a good sign. Yep, no oil. So there's no oil in there. It's saying no oil. I dare say there's something. So let me just grab my oil extraction pump and we'll try and take some of that out, whatever is left in the bottom of the old pan. Let's move the mower over one side ever so slightly. And I use this 9 litre oil extraction pump, which is nearly full actually. Let's take some out of here. That can go in right down the bottom and see what we get out of it. Oh dear, that's not a good sign. No oil. It's got a little bit to tip the engine up, so I'll tip this engine up just to make sure I get it all out. It is filtering some out. It may be that he's just picked it up from somewhere. He just purchased it and wants it serviced. You know, it's very hard to tell. People aren't always very truthful with the story sometimes. I'm hoping the drive issue could be a adjustment. We can try that in a bit. But I'll get this all out, then I'll tip this lawnmower up on its side, take the blade off. And then that way we better tell what the belt is actually doing. The belt may have come off, and with these 41s, when the belts do tend to get to a certain age, they tend to wear out and thin, and the drive then disappears. He said the drive was working, but it's gotten worse over time. That's what he said, which sort of makes sense to me. I'll let this drain out of oil. I'll come back when it's done, and then we'll move on to the next step. Right, I've got my big compressor fired up now on my air compressor, and I've got my impact socket. And go on. Just put a bit more oil in my air gun. I haven't done it for a little while, so I thought I'd do that. Onto reverse. That comes out. And the blade itself is stuck to that pan. There it goes. There goes a washer as well. The blade, actually, it's in good nick. Just wants a new edge put on it, just tiffled up. So that's no biggie. Wants the skid plate grinding off and tied up as well, so I can do that at a later date. That's no problem. Okay, so now we've got down to the bones of the service. I should leave the boss on. We've got air filter off, spark plug out, all out. Now I just want to have a quick little look as to see what this drive is doing, because it's certainly not doing what it should be. And I'm suspecting it's going to be slack belts. Now on these little Hayters there's two belts, and quite often it's the back belt that doesn't get changed and doesn't drive properly. That's generally the reason, but we shall see in a minute. So what I'll do, I'm just going to take you off the stand so you get a little sneak peek as to what I'm seeing. Let's just whip you off. And this is inside a Hayter 41. Let me get you right in there. So the belt you're seeing on the bottom of the pulley, the nearest one to us, which is this one here, that's your first belt. And then you've got a secondary belt up the top, which goes onto the black pulley over yonder. You see it? So there's two belts on these. And what generally happens is people, when they service these mowers, is they don't change the back one. That's generally what they do. They just change this front one. And what happens is the small belt at the back, that tends to get worn and reduces the drive. So I'm going to engage the drive now just to see what sort of tension we've got on these belts. Okay, I've now engaged the drive, and I've now got the drive stuck back. And looking at this, these belts are about as slack as anything. Let me get you off the old stand, just have a look. Let me bring you off. So as I say, the drive is engaged, okay, but look at this belt here. Let me put this light up so you can see a bit better and move just to one side. Let me get a screwdriver up. As you can see, this first belt is as slack as it comes. There's absolutely no tension on that whatsoever. And the second belt is exactly the same. So I'm hoping that it is just an adjustment which I can get on the cable. If not, it'd be a new set of belts. But let me try and do a bit of adjusting first, see if I can't get it to adjust up. Anything I'll adjust, I'll show you in 2 ticks. Okay, so the drive cable is the one down the bottom here. Okay, this is the drive cable, which is this one. And there is some adjustment to be had, so you can adjust these. So I'm going to adjust this out initially, just to try and put a bit more gap on what's going on, to see if that pulls it in any. And what I want to be doing then is I want to be checking to see if it is actually tensioning on the cable at the bottom end. I don't think it's a drive cable issue. I think it is literally I think it's a belt issue. I think the belts are gone, or they're the wrong belts. That's what I think has happened here. That's about as far as I'd like to go with that. Go much further. So that's now put some tension on those cables now. Lots of tension, which is making that cable a bit longer. So let's now go back underneath the mower and see if that has improved the situation down below. Right, to gain a bit better access, if you take this bolt out here, it's a 10mm, and the bolt out here, that's a 10mm, you can then unclip it from here. A load of stuff comes out, and you can just remove it one side of the cover. So that's out of the way and done with, and that gives you much better access here as to what's going on. It's not too bad under here. This is why I quite like the Hayter, because they do have this plastic encasing. You don't get a lot of travel and stuff in here, a lot of dirt, but it does open it right up for you. And this will then allow you to have a closer look as to what's actually happening. One common fault on these is the back bracket that holds the height adjuster. They tend to snap as well, so keep an eye out for those. And all I'm looking for now is just to see what's occurring, because that looks mightily loose to me, that little bracket there.
I don't think it should be as loose as that. That's just flopping in the wind. I think it should be up here. And when you engage that drive, that then puts some tension on. So I'm just going to try and whip that up. What is that? That's going to be about a 14, I think. 13 maybe. Just to see if that's actually just come adrift. It does seem to be massively loose. And I think there should also be a spring on there too, which at the moment I'm not seeing. So let me just try and nick that up. I like to get a longer extension bar. Yeah, that was way loose. I think that was a problem, because now I've got a bit more tension on there, and that may have solved it. May is what I'm thinking, because now it's nowhere near as loose as what it was. That was massively loose. The belts probably could do with a change, to be fair. They don't look brilliant, but what I intend to do is I'll carry on with the service. It's no biggie for me just to go back to this. But now there's definitely a bit of tension on there. I'm going to try and engage the drive to see if I can get this variable speed to separate, because they sort of expand as it forces the belt down within the groove. On the top pulley, on the gearbox one, the collar expands. It drops the pulley, the belt down into a pulley, and that closes this one up. Which gives you even more tension on the belt. So it's sort of an expand and a contract theory. That's how that works, but that shouldn't have been as wobbly as that. I'm just trying to engage a drive to see if I can't rotate this to try and get this just to open up a touch, to see if it won't do it. I may have to do it when the machine's running though. Right, I don't think that's actually working as well as it perhaps could do, so I'm going to take that little pulley out. I've got a slightly bigger socket to go on. It was definitely flopping about in the wind. So let's have that out. That's a definite. There it goes. So let's have that out. There's my socket gone. Oh, come here. Here it is. Because there should be a spring on the back of here as well, which, to be honest, I'm not seeing. I'm sure there should be a spring. Just trying to fish that belt off. There it goes. Take it off. Come on, baby. There it goes. There it goes. So there's a little tiny collar. There's a little tiny washer. There should be a collar on there, not just two washers. And this is your variable drive, and that should move. And I think that was a beef. It was a bit seized up. So I'm going to give it a bit of a spray up, and a bit of a happy birthday, because that's not moving as well as it should do. That should all move quite freely, and that bottom one is not having it, not moving at all. It should press, there you go, it should press and move. So what happens is, I can show you, let me get the belt off of here. This is the bottom drive, and then this is the top drive, the smaller one. And this is the one we don't like to change. So that goes onto there, and that goes onto there. So this is the one that goes onto a blade itself, onto the blade boss, and this goes onto the gearbox. Now what happens is, as the gear lever is activated, this belt will be tightened, okay, and that will allow this to open right up. That belt goes all the way into the pulley, and it then allows this belt just to sit on the top, which gives it more tension. When you release it, it should go the opposite way. It should then push down like so, which then allows this one to go all the way in and this one to stay on top. And that's how the variable speed works on these. It's just a very, very simple but very effective way of making these belts have tension and not have tension. And I've got a sneaky feeling that this is either worn, it's defunct, or with the new blades on it, this is just not running as well as it should. It should run a lot smoother than that, and it's not. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a bit of oil in this, try and give us a bit of a happy birthday. And then got 2 belts, and don't forget the smaller belt is the one that goes onto the back pulley and the top of the pulley, sorry, and the drive. No, that's round the wrong way. Sorry, get this right. That goes that way. So the smaller one goes on the top pulley onto the gearbox, and the bigger pulley goes on the bottom one onto the belt, onto the blade. If that makes any sense. Okay. There should be 2 numbers on here. Let's see if they are the right ones. Yeah, 2.5 and 2.4. And 2.4, yeah, so they are proper Hayter blades. And there is a very slight thickness between the two. I would say these might need replacing. But I'll put a bit of oil in here. I was convinced, I don't know what's convinced me, there should be a spring on there. I was convinced there was. But it's only got a little tiny washer, and I was under the impression that that should have like a shoulder bolt in there. But they may have changed the design, I'm not sure. We shall see. Ones I worked on before have done, so maybe someone else has been in here. But a bit of oil on here anyway, just to try and free that up, because it's just not, it's just, that one's moving fine. That's absolutely lovely. But that one is not doing what it should be doing. So, bit of a happy birthday, and I'll come back. Okay, bit of oil on there, a bit of lube up, and now we're running a lot more freer than what we were. They were slightly locked up, but now, as you can see, that is now moving relatively well. As I say, when you put your belts on, so at the moment this one is engaged, which should be the bigger one, which would display the lever being activated. And when you deactivate it, what happens is that this one then opens up, and as it rotates, it allows this disc to go all the way down, to putting slack on, and this disc and this part of the belt to be tightened. That's exactly how it happens. So it's shrinking one and making the other bigger. That's what it does, exactly. That's how it works. Okay, hope that clears that up. And I have tried to ring my mate Colin. He's a Hayter guru, because I was convinced there was actually a spring in there. Convinced there was, just to bring some tension back. But I might be wrong, as I quite often am. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to refit this back on with the bolt, so it's back in situ, and then refit the belts and see if that's made any difference to how this operates, because it should move as freely as that. You know, it should. That was caught up. It wasn't doing a great deal, so I'm guessing that might have something to do with it. I'll keep running some oil in here, give it an air compress as well, and get rid of any muck that might be hidden in there, and then when I get it fitted, I'll come back to you. Right, so I'm going to remove that bracket again. I've undone it. Now I'm going to drop the washer. Come on, baby. There goes the washer. I knew I would. Here it comes. It's because the belt's on there, that's why it's causing me a few issues. Let's get rid of that bolt. There it goes. Right, let's start again. I don't like to muck you about. Right, so put the pulley, the belt on the back pulley on a drive, and then fish it onto the top pulley, like so. And then you can get your bolt with your washer, stick him on. Might be best to do it this way. Stick that one on there, and then get your washer on the back of it. And then you can just manipulate that up into where it needs to be and do that bolt up. It should be somewhere in there. When you've got it roughly in place, you can just get your socket set on there and just nick that little bolt up, so it's in place, and that way you know that that pulley is where it needs to be. It's going to be about there. So that's that one. That's roughly in place. and then you can nick that up. That's why lots of lawnmower companies don't like changing that back belt, because they are a bit fiddly, but perfectly doable. Nick that up. So that's all the way home, like so. Okay, with the back pulley on, it goes onto the gearbox. You can then get your next pulley, put it up onto the cog on the shaft, and then just pop it round onto the variable speed pulley. I know my fingers are in the way, you can't see a lot, but you know, I need to sort of do it as I go. Push that onto there, give it a bit of a twist up, and that goes on just like so. So that's now both pulleys back on, and now you can then find that little tiny bolt, which is hidden away in the depths. Now that's undoing, undo up, and then do that back up. Now this is going to be one of two problems on here, I'm guessing. It's going to be either, the belts need changing, or this pulley does. But already the drive is engaged, and look at the tension I now have on that belt. Plenty of tension. I can force it by pushing the other belt over, but this is done on like a centrifugal force. So I'm hoping that's actually going to cure it. If it's not, it'll be belts back off, new belts, and possible new pulley. I think that's the only issue with this system. It was just a bit locked up in there, but I won't know until I put the oil back in it and get it to run. So I'm not going to put it all back together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the blade boss back on, the skid plate and the blade, when we move on to the rest of the service, and hopefully we'll come back and find that that's actually fixed that. If not, I've got a feeling it's going to be the pulley. It's not running as well as I would like. A new set of pulleys and a new set of belts, and this should be up and running. That's what I'm guessing. Let me just disengage my my drive. Take that off. So now it should be slack on this one, and slack on this one, which there is, which is cool. And if I engage the drive, when that spins, that should open up this this second pulley. That's just freed up now. When I engage it, it should rotate it over. That's the idea. We shall see. I've got a feeling it's going to be new belts. In fact, I'm going to order a set of belts up for it anyway. It's always handy to have a set of Hayter Harrier belts in for a service. But I think deep down it's telling me that this actual pulley is the one that's actually not working as well as it should do. I could take it apart and clean it, but I want to test it first before I go any further. So let me get on with the rest of the service, and then when we get out in the garden, we'll see if that drive's actually working or not. I'm hoping it will, because that belt did have tension on that a minute ago. I'm hoping it's just literally this pulley is gonna rock and roll and move when I ask it to. So we'll see when we're going to fire it up. Okay, we're back. I'm going to do a few errands. I'm going to pop down to the bank with little Josh and do this and do that and do this and do that and what have you. So that's what it is. Got a new spark plug there, brand new B2LM, gap correctly. That can go in, which is good. Do that up. It had a Briggs in here, a Briggs spark plug, so it's probably original spark plug. That's up nice and tight. Not too tight, but just well in. I'll leave that off for now. I'm going to do the oil. There's no oil in this machine whatsoever because I drained it out. So get the funnel, make sure that's clean, which it is. Goes in there. Just picked up some more oil as well because I'm out of oil. I need to do a shop at some point when the season picks up. Get some oil in. This is SEA 30 oil. I think it's SEA, is it SEA? I always get it around the wrong way. SAE 30. I can't even get into. Give that a bit of a tear up and fill that up. Do it bit by bit. Where's the line? It wants a touch more. Smidgen more. Should be about there somewhere. Give or take. We'll let that find its level. And then check that. Try and get into it. Now, it's a bit of a shame I've had to actually leave the bottom off of this. I want to check the drive, make sure it's working. However, when I tip it back up again, I may take the oil back out just so I can tip it up. But we shall see what happens. Let me just do that up. So we've already had a new spark plug, new air filter, new oil going in. The blade's got to be sharpened and balanced yet. That'll be next. I can check the oil now. That should have drained out significantly. Let me find the oil reader. There it is. See how we're doing on the oil. It was completely empty and it is now, yeah, bang on. Absolutely bang on the mark, exactly where it needs to be. There's a full, and it's absolutely bang on. So brand new oil in there, which is good to see. So let me get on and do the blade. From what I remember, the blade actually wasn't too bad. It looks relatively good. It just wants a new edge put on it and doled up on the back. That's all it needs. It's actually in quite good condition. Just wants a tiffle. It's been struck a few times. So I'll get my grinder out, my flappy disc grinder, put an edge on that, and then we'll test that with the old blade balancer. Okay, blade's now been sharpened. Lovely new edge on there. Lovely new edge on there, and also doled off on the back. And then stick it onto the old, it's a bit warm that is, onto the old blade balancer. And there you go, absolutely bang on, nothing wrong with that at all. You can always tell if it's heavy one end or light on the front or back, it'll tell you so, but that's bang on, so happy with that. Good to go. Okay, blade's now been sharpened and balanced as you just seen. I can now bring the lawnmower back to me one side ever so slightly. I've cleaned off this friction plate as well, just a little tiny bit. I tip the lawnmower up ever so slightly, just a smidge, not too much, because there is now oil in this machine. And I'm going to fit the friction plate and the blade all in one. That goes the other way. And then it's got a little tiny collar washer which goes on, and then the bolt on top of that, and it will self-locate. Slide it on, take a couple of turns onto it. You know when it's got it. Get your air gun. And then we're just going to nick that up into its home. Perfect. I think I'm going to change back to my old hose. I think I'm losing a bit of pressure on that pipe. Yeah, that's that off now. It's not quite tight, but it's quite rusty under there. So that's that bit done. Blade's all on as it should be, and it's just below the cutting deck, which is fine, which is where I want it on the front, so it's just about right. That now wants to sit up for a little while, just so that oil can now return to back where it was. I'm going to give the machine a bit of a clean up, just where it needs it, just with some WD-40 spray that I've got, just to try and bring the appearance up a touch. I may even spray it a bit and leave it overnight once I finish with it,
just so it all sits from inside, because it does look quite old, this machine, and quite weathered. But it has done some work, I believe. It certainly looks like it has. A bit of a general clean, general tidy. So when the bloke picks it up, you can actually see that I've actually done some work. The pull cord looks good. I'm not going to bother with the pull cord, that's fine. There's no issue with that, no point changing it if he doesn't need it. And then what we'll do is we'll give us a couple of minutes just to sit up, and then we're going to take it outside, which is raining, give it a fire up and see if it's actually improved, or if it's actually got the drive working. If it's got the drive working, I'll bring it back in, I'll put it back together again, just a bottom plate. I should be able to do that, and the blade's still on, I think. If not, it'll be blade off job and do it again, but I have my suspicions that this hasn't fixed it, but we shall see. The only thing I can say is that when you now engage the drive, at the moment it's free rolling, but when you engage the drive, that roller locks up. So that tells me the gearbox is not actually broken. So it's either the pulley or the belts. I have ordered some new belts for it, but depending on whether this works or not, I should ring the owner up and say, look, it does work, I've ordered new belts, do you want me to fit the belts or not? I think the new belts were about 19 quid, 17 quid. So HT'd on, let's take it outside, give it a fire, see what happens with the drive. But I've got my suspicions it's not repaired. I think it's going to be either the belts or that pulley. So give us 2 ticks, I'll get set up and I'll start it up when we're outside. Right, it ain't very nice out here. It's a bit rainy, so let's have a look. Just going to fire it up first, just let it run up, and then I'll try and engage the drive and see what's happening. I'll bring it down here so you can try and watch that rear roller. Okay, that drive is running all the time on the belt, so I'm just going to adjust this cable at the top end just to take some slack off. And just a touch more. Jobbed. Okay, super happy. So now that mower is now up and running and working, and the drive is working, and the drive is very strong. Now what I'm going to attempt to do, HT is taken off, I'm going to now attempt to put that cover back on without tipping this lawnmower right up in the air. Now it should let me do it, because there's not a lot to actually stop me from doing it. If I can get above that friction disc, it may have to come off. We shall see. I'm just being a bit lazy, really, and I shouldn't be. That's nearly there. No. Let's not be lazy. Let's take that off. I should be able to do it with my D-Walk maybe. That's now been freshly undone, hasn't it? Let me just tip it up just a touch. Just a smidgen more. Out there. You got a view? Yeah. Let's see if that will actually do that. Yeah. So that's good. I'm pleased that it's actually not the belts and what have you in some ways.
save the customer a bit more money. Because there's no point in changing stuff if it doesn't need it. I'm not into that game. That's it. So that just clips into place, like so. There it goes. And then 2 10mm bolts we've had earlier. And I want a 10mm socket. I've got one to go up in hither. One to go in there. And one up here somewhere. One in there. We'll nick them up. That's one. Two. Just dropped my 10mm socket. That would never be found again. It did go on the floor, so I did hear that. And then we can then offer this disc up into its rightful place. Come about there. Number 3 setting on the old gun. Oh, that's reverse. I'll put it in reverse, don't I? Once it bites, we'll be laughing. That's on. That's good. I can now come down. Now it is missing on this little mower, it is missing the side panellings on here. That is an issue because all the grass that does get chucked out doesn't can get sucked up inside here and it mucks all the pulleys and stuff. So it is an issue, but he's probably not going to replace it just for the sake of me saying so. That's that. The flap is working to a certain degree. I've got to just put some grease on the wheels. I've got to check the cables finally and all that sort of good stuff. But apart from that, this mower is done and dusted. So what do? We did a full service and checked the belts. The belts were okay and not too bad. If I have ordered another set, I will ring him to see if he wants another set put on there and tighten the pulley wheel up and give the pulley a nice good grease up. That was the issue. So overall, super happy.
Okay, super happy, super fantastic. Little Hayter Harrier 41 2003 came into me for a full service and a drive issue, and service went lovely as always. No difficulties there. The blade was really good. New air filter, new spark plug gapped to specification, and all change, all that sort of good stuff. I've done my safety checks. I've oiled the wheels up. That all is fine. And then just the drive issue, which was the pulley had come loose. That was number one. It shouldn't be that loose. I was concerned there should be a spring behind there, but looking a bit close up, I don't know if there should be. Maybe they changed the model. I have worked on quite a few, and I think there used to be a spring behind there, or there now is, one or the other. So that's that. Pulled the pulley apart a little bit, sprayed it, cleaned it, air compressed it, and now that central fugal sort of pulley system now works as it should do. So that's pretty good. If it had the side guards on it, I'd be convinced that not so much grass would be getting up in there and causing an issue. They're supposed to be sort of semi-sealed, so hey ho, all up and running, super happy. So thank you very much for joining me in this episode of Micks Mowers. Incidentally, if this is your first time in watching, hit the old subscribe button, whack the old bell, set your notifications to all, and that'll give you a notification on your phone or laptop to tell you that I've released another video, or in fact I'm on my weekly live stream on a Saturday night between 6 and 10, where you can come up and talk to me and all that sort of good stuff and have a good laugh in general. Also, I have an Amazon wish list. If anyone would like to buy me anything like oils or air filters or whatever, that's down in the comments, pinned comment up the top. Feel free to tap the old link and send some presents over or some gifts to help me out on my channel, because it all costs money. So feel free to do that. And thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Micks Mowers. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode or my next live stream. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. But until then, people, don't forget, more importantly, take her easy.